Coming up on News Desk, a proactive policing strategy to improve police patrols and investigations. How does that work? With specially trained security dogs unleashed across the national capital. Director General in charge of public affairs at the Ghana Police Service, ACP Kwesi Fori, is my guest on News Desk. And only 4% out of the expected 20 million Ghanaians have been fully vaccinated. What's accounting for the vaccine hesitancy? At the time we have more of the vaccines available, the Ghana Health Service has been speaking about this, and we will bring you that. And as President Akufo-Addo continues his tour of the central region today, we'll hear from some residents of Cape Coast who are unhappy with him after he denied promising to construct a harbour there. We have business and sports as part of this edition. You don't want to miss the details. To stay with us, I'm Mr. Alive. All right, so the Ghana Police Service says it has started what it calls a proactive preventing policing strategy to boost the visibility of personnel, improve on intelligence gathering, and track contraband goods. The service also aims at improving upon other aspects of criminal investigations with the latest strategy. A key feature of this strategy is the strategic positioning of personnel with highly trained security dogs unleashed across the national capital for operational patrols. How different will the expected results be from previous strategies? Director General in charge of public affairs at the Ghana Police Service, ACP Kwesi Fori, will be my guest there in a bit. But I'm sure you've seen the photos of the dogs out there on the streets, and you probably may have encountered them. What do you make of them? You can share with us what you think. And we have some interesting comments coming on the back of the strategy. What will the dogs be doing, or what do we intend to use the dogs for, and how can we sustain them? These are questions I'll be putting to ACP Kwesi Fori, the Director General of the Ghana Police Service, when he joins me later in the studio. But moving on to other stories, only 4% of the estimated 20 million Ghanaians expected to have been fully vaccinated by December this year have had their jabs. The Ghana Health Service has blamed the situation on poor response to the vaccination exercise, which is currently underway. Director of Public Health at the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Seaweed, pharmacist and fellow with the Center for Democratic Development Ghana, CDD, Dr. Kwame Sapon-Sedu, have been sharing more on the state of the ongoing exercise and what can be done to change the public's perception and attitude towards COVID-19 vaccinations in Ghana. They spoke with me on the AM show earlier.
So the government and other partners managed to get us the storage capacity so that we can now pick the ultra-negative vaccines. So now we can store Moderna, we can store Pfizer, and we have over 2.6 million doses of Moderna and Pfizer. But what we want to put across is that if you look at the vaccines that we have, they are all effective. So whether it's AZ, whether it's Pfizer, whether it's Moderna, or they are all effective. So you don't need to choose a particular brand of vaccine. What is most important is the population immunity. So this wait and see attitude of Ghanaians is not going to help us, because clearly the more you wait and you get infected, you're going to have an outcome. Let me say that what we are doing is that we are even doing hawking, house to house, going from house to house, saying that a vaccine, you come and take. People are not taking the vaccines, and then because the disease burden is low now, people have decided to lay back. And I think that for us, we have engaged a number of leaders to help us push the vaccines, and we have even tried to push some at the markets. We are trying to see how best Ghanaians can take the vaccine. I think that for now the discussion is taking the vaccine. I mean, trying to explain why we are not getting the disease is a different narrative. But I think for now, what we have is that we have vaccines available. Let's take it. If you look at our data, just 4%, a little over 4% are fully vaccinated, and just about 11% have taken just a shot. So we are way behind our set target, and I think that should be the discussion about how people can take the vaccines. If you look at our strategy, we are initially doing what they call the population and then geographic segmentation. We had very limited vaccines, so we said our focus is the at-risk groups. So in that case, we're looking at people who are 60 years and above, people who had underlying medical conditions. But now it's open. Every Ghanaian who's 18 years and above can walk in and get a vaccine. And all the 62 districts in the country have vaccines. And we have all the vaccination centers are open. So just walk in and you get the vaccine. And let me say that, we used to have this challenge about UK and others not accepting our program. Now it's accepted. So I don't see what is it that we want, what is holding us. Our doors are open, the vaccines are available. Please, let's patronize the vaccines.
What I think is going on, it only takes one to look at a press release from the WHO African office last week, which said that currently in Africa, their research suggests that only 14.2% of all the cases have ever been identified. And over 82% of our cases are not identified. And they put it into context and say that of the 8 million cases that are reported in Africa as a continent, our caseload looks cumulatively around 59 million. So I say that to draw people's attention to the fact that Ghana is not the exception, but the norm as far as the African continent is concerned. So what does that mean? That gives a false sense of complacency, because people think at the end of the day, only, let's say, if you look at Ghana, 100,000+ people have gotten infected. And if we're using the African average of 14%, you can look at you can project the actual cumulative infection rate for Ghana. This is also backed by seroprevalence studies that have been done in Ghana itself by the likes of WAGBIV, and I know KCCR and others, and I think the Ghana Health Service is doing their own as well, which tells us that a lot more people are carrying antibodies to COVID than actually have been vaccinated. And so if you add our vaccination pool plus people who have cumulatively got infected, the number of people who have antibodies are way, way, way higher, which tells you that the infections have been much, much more significant than we have reported. Again, fueling the complacency. Where does that leave us? I mean, I go back to the WHO report from last week, and I say it leaves us with a concern around long COVID, because if the chronic disease load from long COVID becomes as it's being predicted globally, then we are going to have a disease burden overload. And for me, this is my biggest concern. And like I say with every vaccine, your immunity is as strong as the immunity conferred by your community. You have one immunity. Let's say if the vaccine is 70%, it means you are 30% likely to get an infection. Well, when it comes to mortality, it's about 96, 97%, so you are 3% more likely if you get infected to die. However, your 30% becomes insignificant if more people are vaccinated and taking close to herd immunity. That is what Africa doesn't have. And that is why we should be concerned. And that's why I find the false complacency amongst Ghanaians a bit concerning.
Let's move to the central region now, where residents of Cape Coast say they're disappointed after President Akufo-Addo denied promising to construct a harbour. The details of manifesto promises made by the MPP in the lead-up to the 2020 general election shows a clear promise by the party. And we can go to that on the screen right now and go to the specific line in the manifesto. So there you have it. Commence construction of the Eastern Rail Line, the Idreding to Wasi lines, the Ghana-Burkina line, a new line between Sekendi and Shama Free Zones, a new harbour in Cape Coast, and a new airport in Cape Coast. The President made this statement as he started a tour of the region yesterday.
And for the people of Cape Coast, I have good news for you. We are building a new harbour in Cape Coast and a new airport in Cape Coast.
Emphatic statements from the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, when a new patriotic party launched a 2020 manifesto. His statement was captured in page 160. Residents of Cape Coast have been eager for the harbour project, but according to President Akufo-Addo, the harbour was never part of the list of commitment tabled for his second term.
First of all, there's a clarification. The commitment was never to a harbour. It was to a landing site.
Okay.
It's very, very important. And you look inside the MPP, page 88 of the MPP manifesto for the 2020 election, it was clear. And there are several landing sites that we have in the central region that are ongoing. Let me read you some of them, of the landing sites that they have. And there's the phase, for the first phase of the landing sites in the central region involves Sinyabreku, which is what, 92, nearly 93% complete. Elmina, 13% complete. Moray, 78% complete. Winneba, 57% complete. And Gomoa Fete, 90% complete. And Mumford, 70%. We have to be very clear in our mind.
The President read from page 88 of the manifesto, which clearly stated a landing site for Cape Coast. The Vice President also read from page 160, clearly stating that the harbour will be built for the people of Cape Coast. Will it be a harbour or a landing site? Well, it appears we have to take the number one gentleman's word for it.
We never committed ourselves. I never said I was going to build a harbour in Cape Coast. I said I was going to build a landing site.
My colleague Richard Kojo Nyako, our correspondent in the Central Region, joins me live with reactions from some residents of the region on the development. So, Richard, what are the people saying about what the President has had to say, especially when it's clearly been indicated in the manifesto that a harbour or Cape Coast was going to get a harbour?
So, Idra, the people here in Cape Coast are surprised, they are shocked. They say that they heard the President clearly, and they also heard the Vice President clearly, and they've also seen in the manifesto of the New Patriotic Party, and so they have banked their hopes on the building of a harbour as promised by the MPP. So it's really astonishing for them to learn that yesterday the President provided a clarification on the promise that has been made, saying that they never intended to build a harbour for them, but it was a landing site. And so the people here, they do not know, they feel that they've been deceived to some extent. And so they want the New Patriotic Party, and for that matter, the government, to come clear on what the President said so that they would know the position of government. In fact, the youth here are planning on a demonstration today to indicate to government that they cannot be taken for granted. And so they said that the demonstration will be on this afternoon.
Have we had any reaction from the MPP in the region?
Well, they are tight-lipped. None of them want to speak on the matter for now. And so we are waiting for what they will say about this particular matter. It's absolutely confusing to some of them I have engaged, and so they would want to wait for some clarity to be put on this matter. They indicated that they are building a fishing port at Elmina. They are building a fishing port at Mori. And all of these two places are not more than 5 kilometers apart. And so they would want some clarity on the matter before they will be able to speak on this matter.
All right, thank you very much, Richard Kojo Nyako, bringing us that update from Cape Coast. Former President John Dramani Mahama has described the comments by Lord Comey, where he said MPP is not ready to hand over power to the NDC as reckless and careless. According to him, people would usually make these comments when in power and arrogance sets in. Former President Mahama's comments come on the back of Lord Comey's statement during a Greater Accra Regional Delegates Conference, where he said the MPP is not ready to hand over power to the NDC. John Mahama further stated that it is God's and the people's will, not the MPP's, to pick who they hand over to. The former president said this in an interview with Global FM in Ho on Monday.
What kind of democracy is MPP, fostering in this country? And when you listen to people like Lord Comey and thinks it's about power, to me, it's not about the welfare of the people. It's not about the will of the people. He says if you get power, you shouldn't hand it over to anybody. What do you mean by that? It's the sovereign will of the people who elect you to serve. But when arrogance of power sets in, then you hear people speak so carelessly and recklessly. I think it's most unfortunate.
Your Excellency, do you feel power is being abused?
Certainly, if you listen to some of them, the arrogance of power has gotten to them. And he was quoting the president. He said the president said he is going to hand over to an MPP president. He won't hand over. He will hand over to an MPP president. It's not your will. It is God's will and the will of the Ghanaian people. Whoever wins the election, you must hand over. Kufuor handed over to Mills.
Yeah.
I handed over to you, Nana Akufo-Addo. I could have made my mind that I wanted to hand over to an NDC, but it is the will of the people. If the people decide, you must agree. And the point is, I don't know where he's coming from, but I mean, statements like this are reckless. And I think that when they make them, the president is happy with them. And so he pats them on the back. That's what encourages them. Look at what happened in Ayawaso West Wuogon. And a whole deputy general secretary of their party says, oh, Ayawaso West Wuogon was a dress rehearsal. Yeah. And the dress rehearsal turned through 8 people died because of impunity. You know, you just fire and kill people, you know. And then after that, Ejura, look at what happened. And all these things, these people get away with it. All these masked people in all those kinds of uniforms and clothes and things, they don't get punished for what they do.
My colleague Ivy Satsji joins us live on how the former president wrapped up his tour of the region yesterday. Ivy, what else did the former president do before leaving the region yesterday?
Well, at the whole technical university, the former president Mahama told the people that the party executives, former government officials, to make sure that they put all criticism aside. On the day of the election, they should all make sure that they are there and vigilant instead of police agents. He said that he's going to serve as a polling agent that very day after he cast his vote. So he was asking them to be more vigilant and make sure that they do everything genuinely possible so that they can they win power in 2024. So he left immediately after the whole technical university encounter to the OT region.
All right, thank you very much, Ivy Satsji. You're watching News Desk. We're taking a quick break. To stay tuned. We'll be back in a bit. The Secretariat overseeing the construction of the National Cathedral says it hopes to raise an additional $100 million to serve as a maintenance fund for the facility expected to be completed in 2024. Chief Executive Officer of the Secretariat, Dr. Paul Opoku-Mensah, says it is their hope that the endowment fund will accrue the required amount of money to cater for the future expenses without burdening the public purse. He spoke with Joy News on the sidelines of an ongoing symposium organized by the Secretariat.
It's almost about $100 million maximum endowment. You see, endowments are going to be critical to the success of this project. We're trying to introduce a new way of running national monuments. That the national monuments, you have the resources to run on their own, to maintain themselves. Instead of every time looking out for others to give you grants to run your programs and then raising money to maintain. We really are introducing a new model. So beyond the cost, can we add about $100 million just to ensure that you have resources in perpetuity? So normally what you do for an endowment is that you invest it, and then you only use the interest. So if you're able to raise about $100 million, what it means that every year, based on your interest, you have. That's what most of the major institutions, the African American Museum, the Smithsonian, that's all how they survive. Don't really want to say we've built a national cathedral. We've seen so many projects being built. I mean, hospitals are built and there's no money to run them. We really want to insist that it's possible to do things differently, but you have to do it now. You see, you can't finish building and then go raise money. I mean, that's why we said, look, we have integrated this idea of an economic engine and an endowment. But 250 is for the building, and the 100 will be for the endowment. That will allow us to run this in a very generative, progressive way.
Meanwhile, he's defended the decision of the Secretariat to continue working with the architect of the National Cathedral, Sir David Ajay, despite his association with the LGBTQ+ community.
I think he's more theologically sound.
We do apologize we couldn't bring you that soundbite, but we'll get it to you later. Now, the aggrieved 499 students who sat for the 2021 entrance exams at the Ghana School of Law are demanding that candidates who pass the exam be admitted as they obtain the qualified percentage.
199 candidates who sat for the 2021 entrance exam at the Ghana School of Law and passed but have been denied admission are demanding that they should be admitted into the Ghana School of Law. The Independent Examination Committee on 28th September released the results of 790 out of the 2,824 who sat for the exams as candidates and passed the exams, obtaining a percentage of 50. Speaking at a press conference at the Ghana International Press Center here in Accra, Tony Ba, one of the aggrieved students, said the Ghana School of Law and the General Legal Council should see to the admission of these 499 candidates who passed and got the 50% pass mark, as that was the law at the time they were writing the examination.
We appeal to the President, who also happened to be a member in the permanent good standing at the bar, to cause his official representative on the GLC, the Attorney General, Mr. Godfred Yeboah Dame, Esquire, who is clothed with powers under the Legal Profession Act 1960, Act 32, to order the General Legal Council, and for the matter that the Ghana School of Law, to comply with their own rules of engagement and within the confines of the law by admitting the remaining 499 candidates who passed the entrance exams. This, respectfully, is not too much to ask for.
The aggrieved students thanked the presidency for responding to their petition and is also urging the Speaker of Parliament, Minister for Justice and other relevant officers which they have petitioned to treat their concern as a matter of urgency because the right thing and justice must prevail.
We came here, just before this press conference, we received response from the presidency that they have acknowledged receipt of our petition and that they are working on our petition. Among all the institutions and all the places that we are petitioning, let's say that it is the presidency which has responded first. And so we have the firm conviction that the president has taken a very good leadership role. And we believe that once they say they are going to work on it, very soon we'll hear good news. We, the aggrieved students, are humbly appealing to the Chief Justice, who doubles as the chairman of the General Legal Council, His Lordship, Mr. Kwesi Enim Yeboah, the Speaker of Parliament, Right Honorable Speaker Alban Kingsford Sumana Bagbin, and the President of the Ghana Bar Association, Mr. Yao Echampon Boafo, Esquire, our traditional religious leaders, elder statesmen, academia, civil society, organizations, and other stakeholders to add their voice in fighting this injustice.
The National Association of Law Students is expected to embark on a demonstration with the aggrieved students dubbed the hashtag Red Wednesday on Wednesday, 20th October, to protest against the injustices in the nation's legal education regime. The aggrieved students, after the presser, chanted patriotic songs to demand what they say is due them.
Residents and fishermen living along the coast of the Western region are calling on the Fisheries and Agriculture Ministry and the Environmental Protection Agency to investigate the bloomed seaweed, which is wreaking havoc on the shore since 2010. They say the investigation has become necessary considering its negative impact on their livelihood, tourism, fisheries, several shoreline activities and biodiversity. Correspondent Ina Thalia Kwanza has visited some communities along the coast and our reports.
They might not have any scientific proof or evidence to back their claims, but they believe that these weeds on the seashores along the coast might have a link to the oil industry. According to them, since Ghana discovered oil in commercial quantities some 14 years ago, the emergence of these weeds is becoming an annual ritual that they need to battle with every year, and for them, a thorough investigation to confirm or deny the assertion will help matters.
In fact, all along, I've been attributing these seaweeds to the activities of the oil companies. But yesterday, during the workshop, there was a heated argument that the oil companies were fighting their way out, that the seaweeds is not as a result of their activities. But when I was young, say from the age of 10 upwards, we were not seeing this at the beach. But when the oil companies started their activities somewhere around 2010, that we started seeing such weeds at the coast.
It is their operations that is bringing this weeds. We started seeing them when they started drilling the oil.
Vast floating mats have washed up and buried the beaches. The piles of seaweeds grew more than 4 feet high in Aketechi, Eziama, and Akwadai, forcing some people to abandon their homes. From Cape 3 Point to Eziama, Princess Town to Aketechi, Akwadai to Miamia, and all the communities along the coast, the brown seaweed has invaded the coastline basin this year. Once you arrive at any of these communities as a visitor, you are greeted with a decomposing stench of seaweeds, dead fishes, which will cause you to throw up.
We used to sweep here every week, but looking at it now, there is nothing we can do as a community.
We are about 8 people who voluntarily sweep the community and the beach. We don't go fishing, but when these fishermen are at home, it affects all of us. We are always sitting here with nothing to do. We will plead with EPA to conduct a research so we know whether this is as a result of the oil exploration or otherwise.
Fishing, the main occupation of the residents along the coast, is being seriously affected by the seaweeds on the beach and floating on the sea.
This weed is not helping us at all. It is so thick that even with an outboard motor, you cannot see through it. We are unable to let our nets down when we see fish. We are appealing to the authorities concerned to, as a matter of urgency, do something about the weeds, as it is seriously corrupting our businesses. We see this weeds every year, but this year's is just beyond comprehension.
Fisherman Isaac Egan, who owns a canoe, makes a feeble attempt to point at his stuck canoe on the sea. He looks disappointed that he could not make any catch after weeks of staying home.
I'm a canoe owner, and that is my canoe you see lying over there. It's been 2 weeks now, and we have not been able to go to fishing. What we had was nets full of the weeds.
Tourism, heavily battered by the coronavirus pandemic, could be further devastated if solutions are not found to keep the menace from our shores. Here at Aketechi, it hasn't only affected tourism at the shore, but the crocodile fawn, which generates millions of cities.
So what you see just here is a man trying to call on the gods here, trying his best to call on the crocodiles to come and appear. But just as you saw at the seashore, the same thing has happened here. Inside this fish pond, which used to generate a lot of money for the people of Aketechi, is the sea waste. The young man standing here has been doing this for the past 30 minutes, pouring snap, calling on the agors, calling on the crocodiles to appear. They tell me that before, it wouldn't take even up to 5 minutes for the crocodiles to appear. You can hear him still calling. He pours the snap on the gorge, but The crocodiles have refused to respond to his call. So the calling on government and officials to come and help find lasting solutions to end this perennial seaweeds which comes into the sea and to this tourist attraction, the Chatawale fish pond. I understand before they can take 300 Ghana cedis from anyone who comes to see the crocodiles. Reporting for Joy News, I am in Athalia Kwanza, Princess Akatenchie, Western Region.
You're watching Joy News Desk. We're taking a break, but still ahead in the bulletin. Proactive policing strategies to improve police patrols and investigations. How does that work with the specially trained security dogs unleashed across the national capital? Director General in charge of Public Affairs at the Ghana Police Service, ACP Kwesi Fori, is my guest after the break. Do stay tuned in. Right, so the Ghana Police Service says it has started what it calls the proactive preventing policing strategy to boost the visibility of personnel, improve on intelligence gathering, and track contraband goods. The service also aims at improving upon other aspects of criminal investigations with the latest strategy. And a key feature of this strategy is the strategic positioning of personnel with highly trained security dogs unleashed across the national capital for operational patrols. How different will the expected results be from previous strategies? Director General in charge of Public Affairs at the Ghana Police Service, ACP Kwesi Fori, is my guest for more on this strategy. Good morning, and glad to see you.
Good to see you.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
So I'd want to go straight to the K9 unit. I saw the photos you posted on the Ghana Police Service posted on its social media handles, and I was excited by it. And I'm like, okay, this looks cool. Many people are wondering why the uniform, why the khaki uniform?
Thank you. The khaki uniform have been part of the police since ages.
All right.
For instance, the workshop, the mechanical workshop, the instructional level that is at the police depots across the country, and some other units, and the transport unit. And therefore it's part of our
But we haven't seen the khaki out there in public like you're seeing.
Oh yes, this is a special dress, for the K9 unit, and we believe that just to create that difference, that to create that ambience, around them, that uniqueness, and I think it's been part of our culture. As I said, even when you go to the police headquarters, you might have noticed those who handle a lot of files in our administrative offices put on the khaki jacket.
All right. Tell us more about this K9 unit.
It is a special unit purposely designed to assist in our combat operations. And therefore, they've been well trained and under the operational department. And for now, the police, the Inspector General of Police, Dr. Akufu Dampare, and members of his administration had decided, to place them as part of our operational activities in the country. And they are purposely designed, to handle tougher issues. Dogs of this nature, specialized dogs. Some are sniffing dogs. Some also are engaged in other special search and rescue operations. Others also are used at crime scenes, to detect things that might have gone bad and also to elicit evidence for investigative purposes.
How many in all do you have?
Oh, we have quite a number of them there, but the administration believes that we need to increase it, to extend it to some of the needy regions for operational purposes.
What sort of training are they getting?
There are a lot of training, as I said, for combat operations. They are meant for combat. Not all dogs are good for site training. And therefore, these are special dogs that we've imported into the system. and they've been trained, and their handlers are also well trained, to use them for purposes of policing. We know it is a complex task when using dogs, in such operations, but they take command from their handlers, and so far so good. They are very obedient in terms of command. And for instance, criminal-prone areas, as someone who is involved in armed attack and is very dangerous, such dogs could be deployed, to handle such a person. So it has, not only in Ghana, but in the United States, UK, and all these countries have dogs, with special attacks. We know of some of the dogs that even goes under a riverbed even to discover, someone who might have drowned or so forth. But we are getting there, and we are giving them various kinds of training. And these dogs, some are good for a rescue operation, for instance, in terms of a natural disaster. They can go in and even assist to locate the living who might have been trapped, or somebody who might have died, died, and they can go through rubbles, a whole lot of things, and these are special dogs of all kinds.
So I brought up the issue about training because there are people who are concerned that if they are not adequately trained, they could pose a danger to members of the public. If, for instance, they flee from any of their handlers and they attack members of the public, that could be a trouble.
Oh yeah, as you suggested, we are very careful about this. We are aware of the dangers. We are aware of what the dogs can do and what they cannot do. And the trainers...
What can they do?
As I said, you might have noticed from someone who picks a sniffer dog going through a private vehicle. In case one is having drugs, explosives, and other illegal properties, some of the dogs can detect it. Some have dual roles, being a sniffer dog and also an attack dog. Some are also, for one specific purpose, in terms of sniffing, in terms of, taking lead in grand security operations when they are instructed to do so. And like a criminal who wanted to cause havoc in a community, armed and so forth, side dogs can be the first line of action, partnering their human elements in making sure that we are able, to contain the situation. And most of them take the risk first before the human element even comes in terms of very high risk exercises.
Right, so we've seen a number of them being put out there on the streets. And I'm wondering, why now?
Management is at work at the police headquarters. Before the dogs came in, we saw the horse patrols also being rolled on. And now we have the dogs. Looking at the kind of experiences that we've had in recent time regarding criminal activities, it is fair that the police need to be very proactive to make sure that they are positioned to perform some specific tasks. They are not there for general tasks, but for some specific tasks. For instance, if you move in and they stop you, and with a kind word, a golden word, for the sniffer dog to go into your vehicle to search you, I believe that members of the public should welcome this as a way of keeping all of us safe. And they so far, when we deploy them, they've been doing so well. And the trainers are also very careful, as you suggested, not to let them go astray. They are well contained, well directed. And their vehicles are also around, to make sure that when the need comes, they put them in, to make sure that they are well also protected and cared for.
So I asked the question, why now? Because I believe this canine unit has been around all this while. why were we not deploying them? Why didn't we think that?
Okay, let's look at the faces when they were brought in. One, for them to be used to the environment. Two, for them to be given that adequate training to suit our local situation.
So it's more of
and also
are you suggesting it's a new unit?
It's a new unit. It's a new unit. But I think we pause for some time from the public gallery to make sure that they are well trained, suit our environment, and also take appropriate instructions and command. So I think we are now done with them, and they are fully groomed, to go out, and that is why we're seeing them. Some of them were not as big as this when they came in.
All right.
They were taken through processes, training, making sure that we build their bodies very well, to suit that of policing dogs.
It's not cheap handling these dogs, is it?
No, it's not cheap in terms of their care, in terms of
their feeding,
their grooming, and even their needs in terms of their health keeping, among others.
How's the Ghana Police Service intending to sustain this? Because yes, they look beautiful and they can be efficient, but how do we sustain this?
Yeah, as I said earlier, our management is at work. We made our projections and analysis, and importantly, the personnel have been trained as to how to manage them, to avoid death and sickness among them. And we'll do everything to make sure that we sustain it. For instance, like the horses. The horses have been there for ages. We have experts who train them. We have experts who manage them, health-wise and what have you. And it has been on and on and on. So in this, our contemporary world, better decisions need to be taken at all time in terms of provision of resources, in terms of care, in terms of training, among others. But I can assure you that these dogs are going to be very beneficial to our society and country. And we'll move in step by step, and we'll make sure that we deploy them where appropriate in special task operations.
All right. A number of things have been introduced in the last few weeks since the new IGP took over.
Yes.
What is it that has changed? Is it just the leadership that has changed, or the Ghana Police Service is deciding to reinvent itself?
Okay, thank you very much. Under the able leadership of the Inspector General of Police, Dr. Kofi Dampare, and members of his administration, I've seen the need, to make the police service a better service in terms of provision of services and what have you.
Is the Ghana Police Service now seeing the need to put out a better image of itself?
Oh, yes. The IGP, on assumption of office, we've seen a lot of programs that he has rolled out together with members of his administration. And they've seen the need that we need to change our attitude, we need to be more proactive, we need to go all out to serve the good people of this country in a better way. And it is the Ghana Police Service, as you said. But leadership has also changed. And they believe that they are accountable to the good people of this country by making sure that we take steps that will protect our people, take steps that will guarantee the safety of all manner of persons, including those of us here and beyond, and even all residents in the country. And this is a grand management, decision, making sure that we do a lot of things. And so far, so good. Things are going on well.
How's
the bottom line is to enlist public support for our activities. And so far, we've seen cooperation from the media, we've seen ordinary people, and all sections of society in support of the police administration.
And what's the plan for those recalcitrants in the police service who are also giving you a bad name?
Yeah, the administration has not minced words at all. for instance, what happened at Tamale, we saw the decision of the administration and other infractions. And for the administration to achieve that much as we're seeing, discipline should be the hallmark. And they are stick by that, and they are doing everything possible to make sure that discipline, commitment, loyalty, integrity, and service excellence form core part of our new order.
So a few things that have come up in the last few weeks. Again, we're seeing the police service being a lot more proactive than before. One of the things that happened yesterday has to do with the arrest of Funnyface, the comedian Funnyface. The police has put out a statement to that effect, that he has been arrested for a number of reasons. Can you explain to us why?
One, we know the Criminal Code 1960 criminalizes behaviors like threat of death, threats, and he is engaged in those threats on the social media. And whether in writing or by verbal, the police take care of that as part of a criminal behavior. And we are investigating him for this. If evidence is adduced, nothing stops the police from taking decision in terms of court or what have you.
What do you expect to happen now that he's been arrested?
He is now under investigations. They are looking into those things. And those that it's been directed to may also be invited and coming. So at the end of the day, I think the investigative process might establish a prima facie case if we need to move ahead. And if it is established that those threats were directed to individuals or group of persons, nothing stops police from pursuing.
So there are those who are observing what is happening with Funnyface, and they believe that he actually needs psychological help rather than being arrested and cuffed, and photos of him being cuffed shared on social media by the police.
Okay, police, we have all the resources. During the investigation, if we believe that he has a challenge of some sort, we have clinical psychologists in the Department of Counseling. If it borders on anything regarding mental health, we have psychiatry department at the police. So we have all the resources. Yeah, like in the few months ago when we deployed psychiatrists, clinical psychologists to the Western region, nothing stops police from doing that. We are not evil-minded in our operations, but we make sure that people we hold to the court are in better shape, are in the best of their minds. And the police may look at all those things that you're raising.
Did the police have to share photos of him in handcuffs?
One thing that I will say is that the media in our environment, we know there is that kind of unwritten partnership where we give stories, we give photos when need be.
Yeah.
And some of
Is this one of the instances you felt that there was a need to share?
Well, is subject to whatever we are doing. And I believe that whatever has been done is in line to make sure that we get to the bottom of the matter.
The other issue has to do with the musician Chatawale, who in yesterday there were reports that he had been shot or attacked by gunmen. What's the police update on that?
One thing is that a force like the Ghana Police Service definitely would take it serious. Looking, even ordinary people, we are interested in the lives of everybody, no matter the class of the individual. And we have the mandate to protect lives and property across board. And therefore, when we read this on the social media, definitely we might get involved. And we got involved. And such operations began. And the patrol team visited his residence and other places that he is known to be. And lo and behold, nothing of that sort. We did not find him. We did not get to him either on phone or through his handlers. I mean, that is the team around him. And we've tasked policemen to locate him so that we hear his side of the story. Because to mention gun attack is a serious one in relation to alleged robbery and so forth. The service cannot sit down aloof. Therefore, we've started investigations, and we are praying that we chance on him and hear his side. And those who issue those statements also might be very relevant in our investigation. So we wish him well, in stable health, for us to get him and talk to him and know the problem.
But for now, you're saying that you've ruled out any attack? Or the supposed attack that was reported?
The supposed attack, unless we get him, get those who reported that to the media because some names are associated with it, and we get them for us to know the true side of the story.
How would you be handling the situation moving forward? Is he going to be a suspect or a complainant?
Well, it depends upon what we gather. Now we are looking for him. We do not know where he is. We do not know what is happening to him. That is why we are seriously into such exercise, to locate him and hear him. So upon hearing him, that may determine the next line of action together with those who put up the story. And if it goes to establish that, the police may advise itself. If that is also not the case, the police may advise itself.
Yeah. So I see the police engaging in a lot of, taking action based on social media handles and posts.
Yeah.
Should we expect the police to act on these things going forward? That's the way the police is going to take up?
Yes, that is the way forward. The Ghana Police Service will continue to make sure that we communicate with the good people of this country, and make sure that whatever we do, that transparency, that service excellence, and that posture that may bring the public, good, will continue to advance those steps.
All right. Thank you very much. That's the Director General of Public Affairs at the Ghana Police Service, ACP Kwesi Fori, speaking with us. That'll be it for News Desk. We couldn't bring you sports and business because of the very important conversation we needed to have with the Director General of the Ghana Police Service. That'll be it for News Desk. I'm Mr. Lai. Thank you very much for watching, and stay tuned in to the rest of our programs.